in part 2 of from Firstfruits to Shavuot. This is guarding God's word, Yahusha and the Ruach. So we read in Deuteronomy 8 last week that in order for the children of Israel to stay in the land, God was promising to them that they had to guard in His commands. He said to us to guard to do every command which I command you today, that you might live and shall increase and go in and shall possess the land which Yahuwah swore to your fathers. He told them to guard His commands so that they can go into the land, take possession of the land, and remain fruitful in that land. Yahuwah said He would cause the land to increase and be fruitful. And then He said that the children of Israel were to bring the first fruits of that increase and offer that first fruits to Yahuwah. And that's what Shavuot is, the Feast of Weeks. So at the end of these 7 weeks that we count, YAH is expecting to see fruit from what He's already increased us with. He's waiting to see the fruit that we're going to be able to present to Him from that. So we know that they brought actual fruit in that time. But this is a representation of the fruit that He's looking for from us. The fruit of His Ruach that He's given us. He's already given us that Ruach, and He's looking for the fruit to come forth from that. And we also being a part of the fruit from the seed that was sown in the earth. He's looking for the first fruits of us. So there's a connection between guarding God's commands and bearing fruit. He says to guard the commands, and then you'll see fruitfulness come from it. YAH gave His commands at Mount Sinai. On the mountain, He gave His commands to Moses. And He made a covenant with the children of Israel there at that mountain. Amen. But later on, He said that He would write His word in our hearts, in our minds. He would write it in our hearts through His Ruach. So let's start off with Jeremiah chapter 31. Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 31. See, the days are coming, declares Yahuwah, when I shall make a renewed covenant with the house of Israel, and with the house of Yehudah. Not like the covenant I made with their fathers in the day when I strengthened their hands to bring them out of the land of Mizraim, my covenant which they broke, though I was a husband to them. So on that mountain, YAH made a covenant with them. He entered into a relationship with them. He gave them the commands, but it says that they broke it. Yeah. So He says there's a time coming when I'm going to renew the covenant. But this time in verse 33 He says, for this is the covenant I shall make with the house of Israel after those days, declares Yahuwah. I shall put my Torah in their inward parts, and write it on their hearts. And I shall be their Elohim, their power, their source, and they shall be my people. And no longer shall they teach each one his neighbor, and each one his neighbor say, know Yahuwah, for they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest of them, declares Yahuwah. For I shall forgive their crookedness, and remember their sins no more. Thus said Yahuwah, who gives the sun for light by day, and the laws of the moon, and the stars for light by night, who stirs up the sea, and His waves roar. Yahuwah of hosts is His name. If these laws vanish from before me, declares Yahuwah, then the seed of Israel shall also cease from being a nation before me forever. YAH said all of these laws will have to vanish before me. First of all, He introduced Himself saying that this is Yahuwah who gives the sun for a light by day, and the laws of the moon and the stars for a light by night. Meaning He gave them the law. He gave the sun and the moon and the stars the law that they should obey to be able to perform these functions. And this is how He's introducing Himself. And He says, who stirs up the sea and its waves roar. Yahuwah of hosts is His name. He says, if these laws vanish from before me, declares Yahuwah, then the seed of Israel shall also cease from being a nation before me forever. So he's basically saying that this is not, all of this would have to cease being in order for you to cease being a nation before me forever. So even though Yah banishes them for a time, that time is not forever. Even though he was separated for a time, that time is not forever. Because he said that these things, there will always be the sun, there will always be the moon, these things will always be in place. So he's basically saying it's impossible for you to cease being a nation before me forever. Even though I'm going to send you off. I'm going to scatter you among the nations. But I'm going to bring you back. And he's saying this by his name, based on his character, based on who he is, based on his power. So he's declaring these things as a promise to us that you will be brought back. Yeah. It's going to look like a whole lot. It's a whole lot that's going to happen in between, but you'll be brought back. Amen. Amen. So he says, this time, as I'm bringing you back, I'm not just going to give you the Torah. I'm going to take the Torah, my instructions, my teachings. I'm going to put it in your inward parts. I'm going to put it inside your heart, your mind. I'm going to put it in you. Go to Ezekiel 36. Verse 24, and I shall take you from among the nations, and I shall gather you out of the lands, and I shall bring you into your own land, and I shall sprinkle clean water on you, and you shall be clean from all your filthiness, and from all your idols I cleanse you. And I shall put a new heart, and put a new spirit, a new Ruach within you. I will give you a new heart, and put a new Ruach within you. And I shall take the heart of stone out of your flesh. Yeah. And I shall put and I shall give you a heart of flesh, and put my spirit within you. And I shall cause you to walk in my laws, and guard my right rulings, and shall do them. And you shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers. And you shall be my people, and I shall be your Elohim. And I shall save you from all your uncleanness, and I shall call for the grain and increase it, and I shall bring no scarcity of food upon you. And I shall increase the fruit of your trees, and the increase of your fields, so that you never again bear reproach of scarcity of food among the nations. So he said, I'm going to put a new heart and a new spirit within you. And I'm going to cause you to walk. By my spirit, I'm going to cause you to walk. Thank you. I'm going to cause you to walk in my laws, my teachings, my ways. I'm going to put what you need in you to cause you to walk in my ways. So when he gave them the commands on Mount Sinai, he intended for them to walk in it back then. And there was a spirit on some of them to walk in it. There were those who walked in it. But there were those who didn't. Y'all said, this time I'm not gonna leave it up to chance. I'm gonna put it in your heart to walk according to my ways. So how does he get to the point of putting this right spirit in us? How does he get us to this point of being able to do that? Let's turn to Isaiah chapter 11. Isaiah chapter 11. Isaiah chapter 11. rod shall come forth from the stump of Jesse, YAH. A rod shall come forth from the stump of Jesse. And a sprout from his roots shall be fruitful. So stump of a tree, what means is that the rest of the tree's been cut off. And we as a nation were cut off. But he left the stump there. With the roots. You see the tree out, and it's just a cut off, but you still see the stump. You see the evidence of the tree still there. The roots are still rooted in the ground, but it's just that stump there. He said, a rod shall come forth from the stump of Jesse. This is talking about the house of David. Okay? And a rod shall come forth from this stump. And a sprout shall from his roots, because the roots are still there. Still the same tree. The YAH's building is still the same tree. And a sprout from his roots shall be fruitful. You're looking at a stump, but it's going to be fruitful. I'm doing something in the roots are still there. And from this stump, I'm going to bring fruit. And if you look at a tree stump outside, you're not expecting to see no fruit come from a tree stump. You're not expecting to see a branch or a leaf or a fruit or nothing else to come from this tree. It looks like it's done, it's been cut.
That's good.
Thank you, Father.
But he didn't cut it at the root. And there's a time when Yahusha says the axe is laid to the root. You don't want your tree to be cut down from the root.
That's right.
But he didn't cut us down as a nation from the root.
Right.
He left a stump.
Thank you.
And a sprout from his roots shall be fruitful. Shall be fruitful. And it says the spirit, the Ruach of Yahuwah shall rest upon him. The Ruach of wisdom and understanding. The Ruach of counsel and might. The Ruach of knowledge and of the fear of Yahuwah. And I shall make him breathe in the fear of Yahuwah. And he shall not judge by the sight of his eyes, because he has the Ruach of Yahuwah, nor decide by the hearing of his ears. But with righteousness he shall judge the poor, and shall decide with straightness for the meek ones of the earth, and shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and slay the wrong with the breath of his lips. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and trustworthiness the girdle of his waist. So he's coming in a Ruach of YAH, of wisdom, of understanding, of counsel, of might, of knowledge, and of the fear of Yahuwah. So we know this is talking about Yahusha, prophesying of Yahusha, who comes from the house of the weed.
Hallelujah.
So let's turn to Luke chapter 1. So as Israel is going into these captivities and is in these captivities and has more captivities to see ahead, Yahuwah is speaking through his prophets to say, this is what you're going to see come forth. And what you see with your eyes, I'm going to bring forth something more from what you see. So this cut-off thing that you're going to see and experience and live through for hundreds of years and thousands of years, know for certainty that the same YAH that gave the laws to the universe is not going to allow you to cease from being a house in a nation in front of me. So you're going to go through this process, but you're going to come back and you're going to be fruitful. But in order to do that, there's a rod that's going to shoot forth from the stump of Jesse. And he's going to be fruitful. And from that fruit, you're going to see the promise fulfilled of what God has promised the house of Israel. So he tells us the kind of spirit to look for. The spirit of Yahuwah, wisdom, understanding, counsel, might, knowledge, and the fear of Yahuwah. So in Luke chapter 1, start at verse 30. And the messenger said to her, speaking to Miriam here, and the messenger said to her, do not be afraid, Miriam, for you have found favor with Elohim. And see, you shall conceive in your womb, and shall give birth to a son, and call his name Yahusha. He shall be great, and shall be called the Son of the Most High. And Yahuwah Elohim shall give him the throne of his father David.
Yes. Hallelujah.
And he shall reign over the house of Yaakov forever. And there shall be no end to his reign.
Yes.
And Miriam said to the messenger, How shall this be, since I do not know a man? And the messenger answering said to her, The set-apart spirit, the set-apart Ruach, the Ruach HaKodesh, shall come upon you, and the power of the Most High shall overshadow you. And for that reason, the set-apart one born of you shall be called Son of Elohim. And see, Elisheba, your relative, she also has conceived a son in her old age. And this is now the 6th month to her who was called barren. Because with Elohim, no matter shall be impossible.
Yes.
No matter shall be impossible with Elohim. He answered before he was even asking. It was like, well, but she was barren. How? Because. He said because nobody even asked the question. But I know what you're thinking. But she's in the 6th month, even though she was called barren. Because with YAH, no matter is impossible.
That's right. No matter.
So trust and believe that you shall conceive a son who's going to sit on the throne of David,
Yes.
and that his kingdom will have no end.
Hallelujah.
Flip over to chapter 2. Verse 40. Verse 40 says, And the child grew and became strong. So this is Yahusha. The child grew and became strong in spirit, in Ruach, being filled with wisdom. He said he would come in the spirit of wisdom. Being filled with wisdom, and the favor of Elohim was upon him. And his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the festival of Pesach. And when he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem according to the practice of the festival. When they had accomplished the days, they returned. The child Yahusha stayed behind in Jerusalem, and his parents did not know it. But thinking he was in the company, they went a day's journey and were seeking him among the relatives and friends. And not having found him, they returned to Jerusalem seeking him. And it came to be after 3 days that they found him in the set-apart place, sitting in the midst of the teachers, both listening to them and asking them questions.
Yeah.
And all who heard him were astonished at his understanding and answers. And having seen him, they were amazed. And his mother said to him, Son, why have you done this to us? See, your father and I have been anxiously seeking you.
Yeah.
And he said to them, Why were you seeking me? Did you not know that I had to be in the matters of my father?
Yeah.
But they did not understand the word which he spoke to them. And he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was subject to them. But his mother kept all these matters in her heart. And Yahusha increased in wisdom and stature and in favor with Elohim and man. So he increased in wisdom, increased in stature, with favor with man. So we see that he's walking in his spirit of wisdom. He's walking in the spirit of understanding. The spirit that YAH, we said way back in Isaiah 11, that the spirit that YAH said would rest on him. We see that this is starting to manifest and people are starting to notice.
Yeah.
Right.
Flip over to chapter 3, verse 16. So Yohanan, which was Elishaba's son, has been born, and he's called to go before to prepare the way for Yahusha. And in verse 16, they're wondering whether or not Yohanan is the Messiah.
Yeah.
So he answers, he says, Yohanan answered, saying to them all, I indeed immerse you in water, but one mightier than I is coming, whose sandal straps I am not worthy to loosen. He shall immerse you in the set-apart spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, and with fire. I'm immersing you with water, but he's going to immerse you in the set-apart spirit and with fire. His winnowing fork is in his hand, and he shall thoroughly cleanse his threshing floor, and gather the wheat into his storehouse.
Yeah.
But the chaff he shall burn with an unquenchable fire.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Yohanan makes it clear that when Yahusha comes and as he's on the scene, he's going to immerse you in the spirit and in fire. same chapter down to verse 21. And it came to be when all the people were immersed, Yahusha also being immersed, Yohanan immersed Yahusha, also being immersed in praying, the heaven was open, and the set-apart spirit, Ruach HaKodesh, descended in bodily form like a dove upon him. And a voice came from heaven saying, "You are my son, the beloved, in whom I delight." So the spirit settled on him like a dove.
Yeah.
So from the womb,
Yeah.
Right.
and him walking and going up as a child,
Mm-hmm.
to the Ruach literally being visibly as a dove descending upon him,
Yeah.
we see the Ruach being with him
Mm-hmm.
and moving and showing the evidence of himself. Look over chapter 4, verse 1. And Yahusha being filled with the set-apart spirit, Yahusha being filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, returned from the Yarden and was led by the Spirit into the wilderness. Being tried for 40 days by Hashatan, and in those days he did not eat at all. And afterward, when they had ended, he was hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And Hashatan said to him, "If you are the son of Elohim, command this stone to become bread." But Yahusha answered him, saying, "It has been written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word of Elohim." So he was trying to tempt him through his hunger.
Yeah.
For these 40 days that he's wandering in the wilderness. Like 40 days he's being tempted and tested in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Just like the children of Israel wandered in the wilderness.
Right.
And Yahusha, so Yahuwah's trying to, as he's taking the children of Israel in the wilderness, he's trying to get them off of the bread of Egypt that they had been taken in. The literal bread and things they were physically used to eating, but the mindsets and the customs. So he's trying to purge them from these things in the wilderness. And they're being tempted of their flesh while they're in this wilderness.
Yeah.
So as they're going along, Yah feeds them with manna.
Yeah.
This manna that comes from heaven.
Yeah.
Something that they're not used to.
Yeah.
But he's trying to wean them off of what they were used to, to have them trust in him for this manna day by day.
That's good.
So this is the period leading up to, so in that time period, this is the period after Pesach, after they're left out, after the first fruits, so they're going through this period, leading up to Mount Sinai. So they're in the same time period leading up to Shavuot as we're leading up to right now, and as in the scriptures was leading up to Shavuot. So they're in that same time period, and they're being tested in the wilderness
Yeah.
of their flesh.
Yeah.
So Yahusha's going through this 40 days because, it said that they were supposed to finish their journey in 40 days,
Yeah.
but it said 40 years.
Right.
So Yahusha's going to finish this testing in 40 days. And as he's going through this testing, the first thing that Hashatan comes to him with is testing him. Take this bread, use your powers and make this stone turn into bread and eat that because you're hungry.
Yeah.
And he says, man does not live off of bread alone, by every word that comes from Elohim.
Yeah.
So he's saying, I trust in Yah. I trust in his word. His word feeds me. I trust in him day by day to give me strength and to give me what I need and to give me my word.
Yeah.
So he's showing us how to endure that test
That's good.
that the children of Israel struggled with over and over and over again as they wandered in the wilderness.
That's good.
Verse 5, Hashatan taking him up to a high mountain, showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. And Hashatan said to him, all this authority I shall give you, and their esteem, for it has been delivered to me, and I give it to whomever I wish. If then you worship before me, all shall be yours. And Yahusha answered him, said, get behind me, Hashatan, for it has been written, you shall worship Yahuwah, your Elohim, and him only shall you serve. So he's saying, I'm not going to bow down to these kingdoms. I'm not going to be tempted by these other kingdoms, as our people were tempted by the idols of all the other kingdoms, continually tempted by their idols.
Yeah, that's good.
To the point of building a golden calf to be able to fill in that place. But Yahusha said, I will not worship Hashatan. I will worship Yah alone, and alone with him will I serve. And he brought him to Jerusalem, set him on the edge of the set-apart place, and said to him, if you are the son of Elohim, throw yourself down from here. For it has been written, he shall command his messengers concerning you, to guard over you. And in their hands they shall bear you. They shall bear you, lest you dash your foot against the stone. And Yahusha answered and said to him, it has been said, you shall not try Yahuwah, your Elohim. So he says, I'm not going to try Yahuwah. I'm going to wait
Yeah.
and stay in position. with where he has me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call on these messengers to come down here. So Yahusha, in all these tempting, he maintains his trust in Yahuwah.
Yeah.
It says when Yahusha's son had ended every trial, he went away from him until a convenient time. And Yahusha returned so after this testing, Yahusha returned in the power of the Ruach to Galilee. He returned after this, not in weakness, he returned in the power of the Ruach. And news of him went out through all the surrounding country. And he was teaching in their congregation and being praised by all. And he came to Nazareth where he had been brought up. And according to his practice, he went into the congregation on the Sabbath day and stood up to read. And the scroll of the prophet YAH, Isaiah, was handed to him. And having unrolled the scroll, he found the place where it was written, "The Spirit of Yahuwah is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring the good news to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim release to the captives, and recovery of sight to the blind, to send away crushed ones with a release, to proclaim the acceptable year of Yahuwah." And having rolled up the scroll, he gave it back to the attendant and sat down. And the eyes of all in the congregation were fixed upon him. And he began to say to them, "Today this scripture has been filled in your hearing." So we say that the Spirit of Yah is on him to bring good news to the poor, to heal the brokenhearted, proclaim release to the captives, recovery of sight to the blind, send away crushed ones with a release, and proclaim this acceptable year of Yahuwah.
Yeah.
So we know that this, the Jubilee was the year of release.
Yeah.
So we know that we counted 49 years. In that 50th year, we have a Jubilee, and that's a year of release where if you were a slave, the slaves were supposed to be released during that time. You're released from your debts during that time. You're released from bondage. That captivity is lifted from you during that Jubilee time. So we know that as we count Shavuot, it's 49 days, 7 weeks.
Yeah.
And that 50th day is Shavuot. So again, it shadows Jubilee. It parallels Jubilee. And it's a time of release. It's a time of freedom.
Right.
So Yahusha is telling them that he came to proclaim this year of the release, the freedom of the captives. And that what he's reading comes from Isaiah chapter 61.
Yeah.
Let's turn to John chapter 8. John chapter 8. Verse 31. So Yahusha said to these Yehudim who believed in him, he's speaking words and he's doing teachings, and some of the people are believing in him. So he said to those Yehudim who believed him, who trusted him, if you stay in my word, you are truly my taught ones. And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. If you stay in my word, you are truly my taught ones. If you learn of me, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. That knowledge of staying in the word and staying in the truth shall make you free. You're going to experience this jubilee. You're going to experience this release from captivity for all the things that you've been walking in. So as you know this truth and you come to walk in this truth and be in this truth, I'm going to make you free. So they answered him, "We are the seed of Abraham and have been servants to no one at any time. How do you say you shall become free?" Yahusha answered them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, everyone doing sin is a servant of sin. And a servant does not stay in the house forever. A son stays forever." So they think that because they're of the seed of Abraham, that we haven't been captive, and what are you talking about? We don't know anything about this captivity that you're talking about. Yahusha said, "Truly, truly, I say to you, everyone doing sin is a servant of sin." So we saying on the low, you're sinning, first of all.
Yeah.
And everyone who does sin is a servant of sin. And the servant does not stay in the house forever. But the son stays forever. If then the son makes you free, you shall be free indeed. The servant has to leave the house. The slave of sin has to leave the house, but the son is a continual heir of the house. So the son, Yahusha being the son, if he makes you free, brings you into the freedom of his house, you shall be free indeed, continually. So he's revealing to us this release from bondage that's coming in him.
Amen.
This release from captivity that's coming in him. Let's turn to John chapter 15. A couple of chapters over. John chapter 15. Verse 1, I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. Every branch in me that bears no fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he prunes, so that it bears more fruit.
Yeah.
You are already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you. Stay in me, and I stay in you, as the branch is unable to bear fruit of itself, unless it stays in the vine. So neither you, unless you stay in me. Can't bear fruit of yourself. It's like you cut a branch off and it's laying on the ground. It's been separated from the tree. It's done bearing fruit. It may still look, if you see it today, it's going to still look green and brown and it's going to still look right, but as time goes on, you're going to see that the leaves are starting to wither. You're going to notice that the next season passes and there's no more fruit coming from it. But it's still laying there, but it's not connected to the source. Every branch in me that bears no fruit takes away. Every branch that bears fruit, he prunes. It's not cut all the way off. It's not, but he prunes it, which is still a cutting that has to happen. So that, but this is a cutting so that more fruit is cutting back anything that's hindering more fruit from coming forth. So you can't bear fruit of yourself unless you stay in the vine. Stay in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. He who stays in me and I in him, he bears much fruit. Because without me you are able to do nothing. If anyone does not stay in me, he is thrown away as a branch and dries up. And they gather them and throw them into the fire, and they are burned. If you stay in me, and my words stay in you, you shall ask whatever you wish, and it shall be done for you. In this my Father is esteemed, that you bear much fruit. You shall be my taught ones. As the Father has loved me, I have also loved you. Stay in my love. If you guard my commands, you shall stay in my love. It's this continual relationship between guarding his commands and staying in him and bearing fruit. If you guard my commands, you shall stay in my love, even as I have guarded my Father's commands and stayed in his love.
That's good.
These words I have spoken to you so that my joy might be in you, and that your joy might be complete. Your joy, which is a fruit of the Spirit. This is my command, that you love one another as I have loved you. This is the point that he's getting to. No one has greater love than this, that one should lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do whatever I command. No longer do I call you servants.
That's good.
No longer do I call you servants. Servants got to leave the house. No longer do I call you servants. A servant does not know what his master is doing, but I have called you friends. For all teachings which I heard from my Father I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should remain, so that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he might give you. Why would he give it to you? Because you're in him. You're in his love. You're obeying his commands.
Yeah.
You're in the right position. He's in you. You're in him.
Yeah.
So whatever you ask, he might give to you.
Yeah.
These words I command you, so that you love one another. He's talking to them about love being the point in the direction of where they're going. And jump down to verse 26, same chapter. And then he says, and when the Helper comes, whom I shall send to you from the Father, the Spirit of truth, the Ruach of truth, who comes from the Father, he shall bear witness of me. But you also bear witness, because you have been with me from the beginning. So he's speaking of this Helper that's going to come, the Spirit of truth that's coming from the Father that he's going to send. So flip over to the next chapter, chapter 16. Verse 7, John 16, verse 7, he says, but I say the truth to you, it is better for you that I go away.
Yes.
For if I do not go away, the Helper shall not come to you at all. But if I go, I shall send him to you. And having come, he shall convict the world concerning sin, and concerning righteousness, and concerning judgment. Concerning sin, because they do not believe in me. Concerning righteousness, because I go to my Father and you see me no more. Concerning judgment, because the ruler of this world is judged. So he's saying it's good for me to go away. It's good for me to go. He's speaking of his death and going to the Father, being resurrected to go to the Father. He said, I have to go, because if I don't go, I can't send the Ruach to you from the Father. Yeah. 13 it says, but when he comes, verse 11 and verse 12, it says, I still have many words to say to you, but you are not able to bear them now. But when he comes, the Spirit of the truth, he shall guide you into all the truth. The Spirit of truth. Then we said that the truth shall make you free.
Yeah.
He's going to send the Spirit of truth to guide you into all truth.
Yeah.
So that there should be a continual release of captivity, a continual release of bondage, a continual freedom.
Yes, that's good.
As you obey the Spirit of truth.
Yeah.
But he shall not speak from himself, but whatever he hears, he shall speak. He shall announce to you what is to come. He shall esteem me, for he shall take of what is mine and announce it to you.
Yeah.
All that the Father has is mine. That is why I said he takes from what is mine and announces it to you. A little while you do not see me, and again, a little while you shall see me. So he's letting them know I'm leaving. I'm coming back, and I'm sending you the Spirit of truth to be with you. First John chapter 4. The Ruach of truth. He sends us his Ruach through Yahusha. So this timeline of Shavuot, we know that Shavuot, we're going to read it I think next week, the timeline during Yahusha's time when he fulfilled it, when they were in the upper room, that was when they were filled with the Ruach, that was Shavuot. Yeah. And the Ruach was given to them. This Ruach of truth brings release from captivity, brings freedom. Where the Ruach is, there is liberty.
Yeah.
First John chapter 4. Verse 1, beloved ones, do not believe every spirit, but prove the spirits, whether they are of Elohim, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. There are many speaking things that didn't come from the Father.
Yeah.
But by this you know the spirit of Elohim. Every spirit that confesses that Yahusha Messiah has come in the flesh is of Elohim.
Yeah.
And every spirit that does not confess that Yahusha Messiah has come in the flesh is not of Elohim. And this is the spirit of the anti-Messiah, which we have heard is coming. And now is already in the world. So there's a spirit in the world that has already come into the world. He says, you are of Elohim, little children, and have overcome them, because he who is in you is is greater than he who is in the world. The spirit, the Ruach that is in you, is greater than the Ruach that is in the world. There's a spirit in the world that's going to constantly come to try to attack you, come to try to cause you to be contrary to YAH, come to try to test the fruit of the spirit of YAH that's in you. And he says, greater is the Ruach that is in you, the Ruach that Messiah is sending from the Father that is in you. Greater is that Ruach than the Ruach that is in the world. They are of the world, therefore they speak as of the world, and the world hears them. We are of Elohim, we are of YAH. The one knowing Elohim hears us. He who is not of Elohim does not hear us. By this we know the spirit of the truth and the spirit of delusion. So he's telling them how to discern between the spirit of truth and the spirit of delusion. Beloved ones, let us love one another, because love is of Elohim. And everyone who loves has been born of Elohim and knows Elohim. The one who does not love does not know him. For Elohim, YAH is love. By this the love of YAH has manifested in us, that he sent his holy brought forth Son into the world in order that we might live through him. And this is love, not that we love him, but that he loved us and sent his Son to be an atoning offering for our sins. Beloved ones, if Elohim so loved us, we also ought to love one another. No one has seen Elohim at any time. If we love one another, Elohim does stay in us. If we love one another, YAH stays in us. And his love has been perfected in us. By this we know that we stay in him, and he in us, because he has given us his Ruach. So John here is echoing what Yahusha just told us. He's saying that if we stay in him, and he in us, that we're perfected in his love. He has given us his spirit, his Ruach. And we have seen and bear witness that the Father has sent the Son, Savior of the world. Whoever confesses that Yahusha is the Son of YAH, Elohim stays in him, and he is in Elohim. And we have known and believed the love that Elohim has for us. Elohim is love. And he who stays in love stays in Elohim, and Elohim in him. By this love has been perfected with us, in order that we might have boldness in the day of judgment. Because as he is, so are we in this world. As he is, so are we in this world. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear holds punishment, and he who fears has not been made perfect in love. We love him because he first loved us. If someone says, I love YAH, and hates his brother, he's a liar. For the one not loving his brother whom he has seen, how is he able to love YAH whom he has not seen? And we have this command from him, that the one loving YAH should love his brother too. So he's speaking of love here, which is one of the fruit of the Ruach. It's the fruit of the Spirit. So we know that we're walking in the fruit of the Spirit when we walk in love. Let's turn to Romans chapter 8. So during Shavuot, when the offering is made of the first fruits of that crop during Shavuot, it also talks about, we read what talked about 2 loaves being brought during that offering. So we know coming out of Feast of Unleavened Bread, the bread had to be leavened. But these 2 loaves are leavened bread. So there's leaven in these loaves that comes from the new grain that is brought forth in this first fruits. So Yahusha is what the bread of life. So he's telling them not to walk in the ways of the Pharisees that had that old leaven. Don't walk in the leaven. Don't take in the leaven of the Pharisees. So Yahusha, as he walked on the earth, he walked in the newness he walked in the new leaven. He walked in the newness. He was the Word, and he brought forth the Word that was full of the Ruach of YAH. So he's given us this new teaching, this new understanding of the teaching, renewing the understanding, the right understanding of Yah's word. So these loaves represent that new teaching, that newness that's in Yahusha that comes through the Spirit and the Word all operating together, that newness. So these new loaves, this new bread that you're eating of, is coming from this new time. So when we bring those two loaves doing first fruits, it's coming from something, a new grain, not the old grain. It's coming from the new grain and not the old grain. So this teaching that Yah has given us, that Yahusha is bringing us, this is a new bread, new leavened bread. That's not with that old leaven. You understand what I'm saying? So it's the new bread that's coming forth with that new leaven. So he's giving us this new teaching, this new understanding, this new word. So the disciples and they're teaching, when John's talking about love, he's bringing this forth from the newness that Yahusha brought when the Ruach came.
Yeah. Amen.
Romans chapter 8. There is then now no condemnation to those who are in Messiah Yahusha, who do not walk according to the flesh, but according to the Ruach. For the Torah of the Spirit of the life in Messiah Yahusha has set me free from the Torah of sin and death. For the Torah being powerless in that it was weak through the flesh, Elohim having sent his own Son in the likeness of flesh of sin, and concerning sin, condemned sin in the flesh, so that the righteousness of the Torah shall be completed in us who do not walk according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit. He said, those of us who walk according to the Spirit and not according to the flesh, the righteousness of the Torah, the righteousness of Yah's teachings and instructions will be completed, made complete in us. For those who live according to the flesh set their minds on the matters of the flesh, but those who live according to the Ruach, the matters of the Ruach. For the mind of the flesh is death, but the mind of the Ruach is life and peace. Because the mind of the flesh is enmity towards Elohim, for it does not subject itself to the Torah of Elohim, neither indeed is it able to. And those who are in the flesh are unable to please Elohim. But you are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit, if indeed the Spirit, the Ruach of Yah, dwells in you. And if anyone does not have the Ruach of Messiah, this one is not his. So he's letting us know that we should all have the Ruach and be in the Ruach, but we shouldn't be walking according to the flesh, but according to the Ruach, if the Ruach dwells with us. And if Messiah is in you, verse 10, the body is truly dead on account of sin, but the Ruach is life on account of righteousness. And if the Ruach of him who raised Yahusha from the dead dwells in you, if the Spirit, the Ruach of him, Yahuwah, who raised Yahusha from the dead, dwells in you. So he's letting us know that it's the same Ruach, the same Ruach that raised Yahusha from the dead, dwells in us. It says that he who raised Messiah from the dead shall also give life to your mortal bodies through his Spirit dwelling in you. So two things here. Number one, he's giving us the assurance of the resurrection. If Yahusha was raised as the first fruit, he's the first fruit of many brothers that are to come. So he's giving us this assurance through his Ruach, that the same Ruach that raised him from the dead is going to raise us from the dead. But then he also says that this Spirit who raised him from the dead dwells in us. The Spirit that resurrected death from death, resurrected to life, dwells in you. This life-giving Spirit that Yahusha has dwells in you. I think that's kind of major. I think that's kind of major.
Yes.
In the song that you were playing this morning, Shavuot said, death couldn't hold you down. You are the risen King. Death didn't have authority to hold him down. So that's why, because he walked in the Ruach, he was born in the Ruach, walked in the Ruach, he died in the Ruach, and death had no authority over his Ruach. And he had to release him and be resurrected. He had to be released from that death. So in the Ruach, there was that release because he walked in the Ruach. But if you walk in the flesh, your flesh is going to die, and it's just going to die. There's no power, there's no spirit within you to resurrect if you're not walking in the Spirit now. So then, brothers, we are not debtors to the flesh to live according to the flesh. For if you live according to the flesh, you're going to die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the deeds of the body, you shall live. For as many as are led by the Spirit of Elohim, these are the sons of YAH. For you did not receive the spirit of bondage against the fear, but you received the spirit of adoption, by whom we cry out, Abba, Father. We are sons, we're not slaves and servants, we are sons.
Amen.
But you received the spirit of adoption, by whom we cry out, Abba, Father. The Spirit himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of YAH, and if children, also co-heirs, truly heirs of Elohim, and co-heirs with Messiah, if indeed we suffer with him, in order that we also be exalted together.
Yeah.
If we suffer with him,
Yeah.
and our flesh dies with his flesh dying,
Yeah.
then we'll also be exalted together. For I reckon that the sufferings of the present time are not worth comparing with the esteem that is to be revealed in us.
Yes.
For the intense longing of the creation eagerly waits for the revealing of the sons of YAH.
Yes.
For the creation was subjected to futility,
Yeah.
not from choice, but because of him who subjected it,
Yeah.
in anticipation that the creation itself also shall be delivered from the bondage to corruption into the esteemed freedom of the children of YAH. For we know that all the creation groans together and suffers the pain of childbirth together until now.
Yeah.
And not only so that even the creation is groaning, waiting for the sons to be revealed. It's like in childbirth, waiting for that birthing to happen. It's waiting for the sons to be revealed.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
For we know that all creation groans together and suffers the pains of childbirth together until now. And not only so, but even we ourselves who have the first fruits of the Spirit.
Yes.
We have the first fruits of the Spirit.
Thank you, Father.
So y'all has seen, so there's a promise of fullness. Because we're going to walk into it. Said, as he is, we shall be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but right now we have the first fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah.
And even with just the first fruits of the Spirit, I mean, with just a little piece of YAH. Remember in, what was that, in Wakanda and Black Panther, and they had that flower that they used to heal their people and stuff, that purple flower. And then when the guy came, he burnt up the whole thing, but somebody had grabbed a little piece of it and kept it to the side. Just that little piece was able to heal their king and resurrect him so that he could take back the kingdom.
Right.
That's good.
Amen.
And not only so, but even we ourselves who have the first fruits of the Spirit, we ourselves also groan within ourselves, eagerly waiting for the adoption, the redemption of our body. For in this expectation we are saved. But the expectation that is seen is not expectation. For when anyone sees, does he expect it? And if we expect what we do not see, we eagerly wait for it with endurance. And in the same way, the Spirit does help in our weakness, for we do not know what we should pray. But the Spirit himself pleads our case for us with groanings unutterable. And he who searches the hearts knows what the mind of the Spirit is, because he makes intercession for the set apart ones according to Elohim. And we know that all matters work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. Because those whom he knew beforehand, he also ordained beforehand to be conformed to the likeness of his Son, for him to be the firstborn among many brothers. Here we go again. He's the firstborn among many brothers. He's the first of us, the first example of what we are becoming. And we walk out as he walked on the earth, and then we're becoming, and we're walking in that Ruach, the first fruits that he's given us. We're walking in that Ruach, and then we will see the same resurrection, the life that he saw. He's the firstborn among many brothers, and whom he ordained beforehand, these he also called, and whom he called, these he declared right, and whom he declared right, these he also esteemed. But then shall we say, what then shall we say to this? If Yah is for us, who can be against us? So he says, so Paul says, what shall we say to all of this? If Yah is for us, who can be against us? We have the first fruits of his Spirit.
Right.
Truly, he who did not spare his own Son, but delivered him up on behalf of us all, how shall he not, along with him, freely give us all else?
Yeah.
Who shall bring any charge against Yah's chosen ones? It is Yah who is declaring right. Who is he who is condemning? It is Messiah who died, and furthermore is also raised up, who is also at the right hand of Yah, who also makes intercession for us. Who shall separate us from the love of Messiah? Shall pressure, or distress, or persecution, or scarcity of food, or nakedness, or danger, or sword? And as it has been written, for your sake we are killed all day long. We are reckoned as sheep of slaughter. He said, nothing shall separate us from his love. Verse 37, but in all this we are more than overcomers through him who loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death nor life, nor messengers, nor principalities, nor powers, neither the present nor the future, nor height nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of Yah, which is in Messiah Yahusha, our Master. Amen. So he said he's convinced that nothing will separate us from his love. Nothing will separate us. So he's breaking down to us. You have his spirit. You have the first fruits of his spirit. He's the firstborn of you. The firstborn among brothers. So he's saying, so he's laying out all this to encourage us to say, knowing all of this, possessing all of this, who can be against us?
Right.
Knowing all of this and possessing all of this, he says, I'm convinced that there's nothing that can separate us from the love of Yah. So he's basically saying there's nothing you need to worry about. There's nothing to be concerned about. You have this Ruach. And if we understand the Yahusha understood that he walked in the Ruach, that the Ruach was with him and in him, and he could walk in that power. He understood that he was walking in, that the Ruach represented wisdom and understanding and counsel and might, power. He understood that the Ruach represented all these things and the fear and reverence of Yah. He understood that, so he walked in the Spirit. So as we are learning, as we're trying to bring forth the fruit of the Spirit, we have to remember that we are walking in the Spirit. And it takes the stillness and presence to stay in that, and to not go ahead, not to linger behind, to listen to the Ruach, listen to the voice as he's speaking, and as he leads us. That's how the fruit is able to come forth. That's how you're able to be patient when the circumstances will demand impatience. That's how you're able to rest in love and demonstrate love when the circumstances is contrary to you wanting to do that.
Right.
Those are the moments that you die to your flesh. You die to that thing, so that when joy comes forth, when there should be no joy based on the circumstances that are happening. You shouldn't be demonstrating joy. There should be no peace. But because the spirit of understanding has been given to you, then you're able to quiet your flesh and walk in that spirit of understanding, that spirit of peace. So Yahusha understood that. That's why he always said, I don't speak my own words, I speak what the Father has speaking. And I give to you, not for myself, but what I have gotten from the Father. I give that to you.
Right.
So Yahuwah's given us everything that we need to be able to walk in his spirit. So as we're leading up to Shavuot, we are learning how to continue to walk in the spirit. So as we continue to ask Yah, what fruit do I need to cultivate more to be able to walk in your spirit and to walk in the peace of your Ruach, to be able to walk in the different fruits of the spirit? What do I need to do? What do I need to cultivate? How do I need to trust you more to be able to rest in your Ruach and not depend on my flesh to be able to accomplish these things for me? How do I rest in your Ruach? Because this can't be done in our flesh. We can't conjure it up, not for long. So this is something to continue to meditate on. We said as we meditate on this day and night, we're like those trees that are planted by the waters. So we continue to meditate on this. We're in like the third week leading up to the 7 weeks of the 7-week count that we're doing of the Shavuot. So as we're in this time, we're seeking Yah. It's not just for Shabbat. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, we're asking Yah, what do you see in my life? In what area am I not walking in your Ruach? So reveal this to me and show this to me so that I can receive this gift and this freedom that you've given to me. Because you said that as I embrace the spirit of truth, I will become free. So in whatever degree that we're not experiencing freedom, we can. In anything that we're not experiencing freedom, we can. So it's a returning back to that place of rest and that place of peace, so that we can receive of His Spirit, receive the freedom and that release, that jubilee that He wants us to experience in this season. Amen.